gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. So lovely to see you here, and thank you so much for being with us. I'm Eithne, Treanor, your moderator for this session. And as you've been hearing throughout the last day and a half, we look at cities, we look at where we grow, and we have to look around us and we look at the expansion of cities. We don't even have to look at cities. We look at the countryside, we look at our workplace, we look at our neighborhoods. There's lots going on. There's a lot of demand for energy, for services, for products. And again, as the life changes around us, so too must how we build infrastructure, how we actually put, in fact, everything in place. A lot has changed in the last few years, and I want to see now, are our kind of key people that have been sort of served with the responsibility of making sure that we all live comfortable lives and efficient lives, are they up to scratch, so to speak? How are they managing this? Because so much is changing so fast. So let me quickly introduce you to our panel. We have the Group CEO from STC here. Olayan Alwetaid is with us. Delighted to see you.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
From the Red Sea Development Company, AMAALA, we have Jay Rosen, the Chief Financial Officer. Great to have him here. The CEO of Egis Group is with us also. Laurent Germain is here. And we're absolutely delighted to have a little sneak peek into the future, just to see what's going on, the stuff that we thought we knew, but actually we don't know, and we might not even know, and it will probably change by the time we're going to get there. So we have our data futurist with us as well. Lise is here as well. So she's going to start us off, and we'll get moving on this. Thank you.
I mean, status quo is almost what we call 2030, and the future is already, here today. And when we look at cities, not only are the engines of growth, of wealth, innovation, all of those things, but also the cities has lots of challenges. I put some data here because as a data futurist, this is what it's all about. One of the very interesting stats here is that 80% of GDP is actually generated in cities. So really, when we look at one of the biggest opportunities for investment, really smart energy application is where it starts. And it's also about understanding how we best invest, not just in infrastructure, but really in humans and the human cities. So really the challenge is for any urban planner, anyone who invests, is to understand how we best plan, build, inhabit, and operate cities, because this is what determines our common future. So rethinking how we deliver those services and do it with a new mindset, not business as usual, could really boost sustainable cities in cities. Thank you. Sustainable
Annalise,
performance.
Thank you so much. Yes, and we look forward to hearing more from you as we go through. Olayan, I want to start with you. And when we look at cities at the moment, without a doubt, and in this time, here we are, 2021, connectivity absolutely has to be, I would say, the sort of the minimum standard. I think if I was talking maybe 10 years ago, it might have been something else. It could have been energy, it could have been water, it could have been a variety. But right now, we cannot live without that connectivity. But the systems and the infrastructure must be in place. So talk to us and give us a feel, I suppose, about what's absolutely essential before anything else is taken into consideration.
Sure. Thank you, Eithne. Thank you. We strongly believe that, as has been mentioned, that future is more or less being done today from a technology perspective. We are preparing for a future that is hopefully sustainable, to expand and grow our populations into digital economies that is enabled by technology, by infrastructure. The infrastructure piece of things is for sure a major enabler, as you rightfully mentioned, for cities to flourish, to open opportunities for individuals and for businesses and for government to provide services that are efficient and effective in the way they are being delivered. From our perspective, wireless technologies and wired technologies is the base of that. On top of that is the platforms that we build to make sure that this technology is being enabling different verticals to pursue their potential to provide services in the best way possible.
Now, Jay, your development is unique. It'll be a very different looking city, I think, as well. That's what's very, very exciting about it. But how has it been to get a completely blank canvas and to build to build a whole new modern city, a different city, a city that has not been built before? That's, I mean, apart from being an exciting challenge, you know, for you, it's got to be, give us a few, maybe a few challenges in there as well.
Absolutely. We're actually building two cities between the Red Sea project and AMAALA. And while, yes, we have a blank canvas, and that does, bring some unique challenges, it's really a blessing because we get to plan from the outset. We have our residents, who will be the employees at the hotel to run and operate the destination, so we need to create a livable and vibrant environment. And then separately, we have our guests staying in the hotels who are there to enjoy the destination. So how do we master plan from the outset with the right infrastructure to achieve that balance as well as preserving and protecting the environment? At the end of the day, we believe that is what is unique and special about both of our projects. And so when we develop with that in mind. Some of the examples, we use marine spatial planning to inform the master plan so as not to have a negative impact on the environment. We looked at where sea life and terrestrial life live, and we look to mitigate that. We're using green concrete to have less of a carbon impact on our development. And obviously, because the environment is so important to us, we are investing in a smart IT backbone so we can measure our impact on the environment, but we're also going to use that as a tool to enhance the guest experience as well as the lives of our employees.
I mean, it's so exciting and really groundbreaking stuff that the world is looking at what's happening there because it's new and it's different and nobody's done it before. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Laurent, when you look at any city, and even here you look at Riyadh, I mean, I've been coming here, I suppose, for the last 12 years on and off, and you just see the developments that's going on here in every city around the world. Even my old small town is bigger than it was when I was there, So towns and cities are growing. The demand for more people, the demand on services, all of that. How can, an engineering company like yours actually, I suppose, mitigate the downside of that while allowing it to grow, but at the same time allowing people to, live a comfortable life within there because everything works, so to speak?
Well, I think for a company like Egis, an engineering company, it's a fantastic challenge because we have to solve this paradox. I mean, by 2050, 70% of the population will live in cities compared to 50% today. And the population will grow 2 more billion, which means the amount of population living in cities will double by 2050, which means we're going to build new infrastructure. The amount identified by Oxford, the University of Oxford, is 94 trillion euros of investment needed by 2050 to cope with the increase of population. At the same time, 80% of the greenhouse emissions are done in cities. So how do we, at the same time, increase the level of infrastructure needed in cities and at the second time, help the cities to commit to their objectives in terms of decarbonation? I would use 3 words to advance on the debate. The first one is sustainability. We need to implement technologies that guarantee sustainability. And for the engineers, that goes with eco-conception. That is to say, we need to simulate at the time where we conceive the infrastructure, the consequences this infrastructure can have on the environment. And we have a new technology to do that, which is the digital twin technology, where we have the replica digitally of the infrastructure of a complete city where we can simulate the impact that it will have on the environment. Second word is technology. Third word is dialogue. And of course, I will develop that in your next questions.
So you can, look at the challenges ahead and kind of make sure if there's too much, you can actually make them go away, so to speak, and then build another plan, hopefully. We'll come back to that one anyway. Now, when we look at all of this too, Olayan, it's got to be about, yes, you're going to make sure that connectivity is there, but you can't do that on your own. And it really is, I would say, about, strong policy. It's about joined up thinking in any city. Everybody has to be involved. There's so many different people. And it's about, strong policy, leadership. Somebody's got to give you, I suppose, the permission to move. Talk to us just a little bit. That makes your job easier, basically.
Very true. We truly believe that it starts with the leadership, and obviously if you take the case as case in point, we have a very clear vision that has been set by the leadership, and the policies start following in a very good way to make sure that vision is more or less being applied across the different players and stakeholders that are responsible about it. And the fact of the matter that an ecosystem is being put together by the different stakeholders along with partnerships that is enhancing that ecosystem to take place, to continue leading from infrastructure perspective. We see examples that are either in Riyadh or in NEOM or in Red Sea or elsewhere that where KSA is leading the world in terms of its adoption for technology. We strongly believe that smart city is the future, and we have adopted that already. We've just been through 2020 where KSA has been at the top of the globe in terms of fighting the pandemic using digital tools and digital enablement. And this is the way forward, for sure.
And I guess it has to be. Laurent, if I can keep you on this one here, when we look at that, I suppose, interactivity of so many different departments, government departments, organizations, stakeholders. I mean, how many people have to be involved in actually creating, I suppose, the smooth flow for how you're going to do your business?
Yes, I think the difference between now and 15 or 20 years ago is that the decision-making is more complex because there is the issue of sustainability, there is the issue of financing, because I told you the amount of money which is needed. So we need to create the forums in each cities where the private sector, the government, and the local authorities, they have to put forward a plan of financing and also having the decisions being accepted by the population, which was not the case before and not needed before.
And also, I mean, just, when we look at what has to be added to cities, we look at a city like Riyadh at the moment. I live in Dubai, and we saw a metro being added, and we were like, how are they going to do this? Where are they going to put it? And clearly there are good engineering and design minds that know how to do it, and it happens. But again, how do you add more infrastructure, and not kind of compromise how other people live?
I think there are many aspects. The first one is you have to replace polluting means of transport by non-polluting means of transport. This is electromobility. And to take the example of Riyadh, I mean, His Royal Highness has announced that by 2030, 30% of the cars driving in the city of Riyadh will be electric cars. So this is the first step. The second step is putting nature back into the cities. Here again, I will quote the example of Riyadh. My company, Egis, is the project manager of the Green Riyadh city, where the rate of vegetalization in the city will go from 1% now to 10% by 2030 by planting 7 million trees. This is a second very important thing. The third thing is we need to stop sprawling, the cities, expanding the cities forever. We absolutely need to verticalize the cities so that we use less, of course, nature in order to expand and house people.
Okay, and we can talk more about that. Talk to me about, I suppose, the unique challenges, that will be this new community. It's an island community, islands, and there's lots going on. It's not one island by any means here. But in terms of, it's in the middle of nowhere, which now, of course, in a few years, it won't be. It'll be the center of everywhere. There's a big difference, too. But the challenges are there, getting utility, getting all the technology, getting all that together. Talk to me a little bit about how you've managed that.
Obviously, we're in a remote part of Saudi Arabia, south of El Waj, actually south and north of El Waj between the two projects, and there isn't existing infrastructure. So how do you build and develop for the future without impacting the environment? We're using a lot of modular construction and off-site manufacturing as a tool to minimize our impact on the environment. So rather than conventional lay-down areas, we're doing all of this off-site to have a less of an impact on the environment. Picking up on some of the points Laurent was making about the impact infrastructure can have, utilities as an example. I think if you heard our CEO speak earlier today, highlighted the fact that we are powering our destination with 100% renewable energy. Not just by daytime, but by nighttime as well, 24 hours a day. Conventionally, when some of the other destinations have done this, they draw the sunlight to power the destination during the day, but at nighttime they plug into the grid and use conventional fossil fuels. We're really looking to be pioneers and set an example for the rest of the country, if not the world. So when we say 100% renewable energy, we truly mean it. We don't have a connection to the grid, and for us to do that, we have to invest by developing the largest battery backup storage in the world.
It's going to be very, already it's exciting, it's dynamic, it's all of that. And I think it really is futuristic in many, many ways, which leads me nicely on to, we're sort of at the halfway point, so bring us up to date with some more data analysis for us.
Really, there are so many interesting things. We prepared a little sliding show here with some of the data, and just really to put in some of the data point here that really is crucial, what I thought came true quite clear, and it's very inspiring what everybody is contributing with, is that really sustainable futures begins with the built environment. Of course, there are some, we always, adapt something, because sometimes, this is the opportunity for the completely new cities, there are no people, but when there's a lot of people, it is very much about understanding how we can, have that natural transition. But it's all about investing in humanity and think about the greater good of everyone. And what we saw also in the video, which we delivered the data and the script, that human cities is there to optimize well-being. This should be a given in any city. And it's about using technology in the right way. It is key to fostering social capital as well. And one of the data up there is that if cities in 21 emerging markets prioritized climate-smart growth, then they would gain as much as $7 trillion in investment, like a return, and it could also create 144 million new jobs. And it's very much about those carbon-friendly, those green jobs, because it's again about fostering a whole ecosystem of well-being for people and planet, and also that will lead to prosperity. And then, as we also talk about, when we sit everyone around the table, then we can start to foster trust and engagement. And when we look at global trust indexes, they are at an all-time low. And it's very much about access to and sharing data, because that is really at the heart of intelligent urban planning. Case studies from for example, New York City, or from places like Finland, we see that they actually have an exchange with the citizen. It's basically data for good, because then they can see where they can best actually put funding. And in fact, when you connect buildings, transportation, as we heard here, goods, public services, all of that in real time, then of course you increase performance, you reduce the impact on the planet, and you can optimize the resources you have, making the city greener and safer and happier. And last but not least, I think big data offers this host of opportunity to boost performance, right? Really doing good. And we think that is about investing in humanities. And smart cities market is projected to grow to $2 trillion by 2026. Again, those are projections, but all the change makers are here. Everybody is here, ready to invest, and I think that's really the business case is there for doing that now.
Laurent, I'd like you to comment on just some of perhaps what she's talking about. It's going to take a lot of investment. It's going to take, the political will that's going to make it happen. But, just in terms of what she's talking about too, that stakeholder engagement, that's important. And it's not just about drawings and design. It really is about a more holistic approach, is it?
Yeah, and it's really linked to the innovations we'll do in technology. If I take again the example of the need of decarbonation, then we will need to make sure that we put in place regulations that assure that the number of cars, polluting cars, driving in the cities will decrease. Then the technology is already there. You can have low emission zone and manage the low emission zones through technologies of plate recognition and data collection, and then finding in the back office so that people who are not allowed to drive in this or that area of a town is then fined and stop doing this. So that kind of low emission zone are put in place in a lot of cities right now, and it shows you how technology can contribute big time to the decarbonation.
No, and indeed, as you said, yes, sir. So exclusion zones, and that already now my phone will beep if I dare go a little mile over the limit in Dubai. It's like you're going, oh, I just got a ticket right there and then. It's like yeah, the technology works. So on a level like that, it'll work even better. Olayan, talk to me in terms of, I mean, there's hugely ambitious plans here in Saudi Arabia. You have a huge responsibility. Talk to me about some of the projects that are already in place, and indeed, how are you actually going to, I suppose, deliver on the grander ambition?
Sure, Eithne. From our perspective, the journey has started already. We adopted a strategy for the last 5 years to go into this aggressive expansion in terms of our scope. And that took us not only to do our business in the wireless 5G and fiber connectivity, which we have done in a very, very good way, and now KSA is topping the world in terms of speeds and in terms of connectivity. But we also went further beyond that, and that brings us to cloud services setup, and that brings us to IoT as a service. We have also moved further into financial digital services, as well as so many other areas on the IT domain that enables a digital economy and smart city developments that will cater for human beings to be hopefully happier and delivering to their future, and also for businesses and corporate entities to do a much better business for themselves and to cater for these cities of the future to be much more livable in a better way.
Indeed, and that's what it is about. I mean, people live there, and we all have to have a comfortable life, a good life, and this is what we expect. And I think we need to make sure that that's there in the future as well. Jay, sustainability, you know, listening to what you're saying too, it's at the very heart of what you're doing. But talk to me maybe about the supply chain. Do you have everything you need that's going to actually be able to fulfill that? You're talking about, you know, 100% green energy, green cement, all of that right now. Can you get everything you need to build the city of the future?
Absolutely. I mean, I think everything that we're talking about today, we're in fact doing. So as an example, we're working with a local contractor who's established a concrete batching plant up on site to fulfill our ambition to use green concrete. And as I think many in this room may know with respect to the utilities, we awarded our utility concession to an international consortium that included both domestic and international partners to bring to fruition our utilities. So the technology's there, we're doing it. And actually one of the things that we actually looked to do when we went out to the market was we didn't prescribe the type of technology, because we know technology is evolving. So what makes sense today may be obsolete in the future. And so we've kind of left it to the market to come back and tell us what's the best way and the right way to achieve some of these initiatives in our ambition.
Following from that, excuse me, Laurent, following on from that in one way, but also, you know, when we think about it, you know, we need policy, strong policy in the city. What kind of fuel is going to be used? All of the various things that really need to be done in order to make sure that, you know, life goes on as normal and undisrupted in many ways. Yes, we're disrupting it big time, but by doing that, you know, we have to make sure that people buy into it and create a better city. And some people might say, I know you talk about planting trees, but there's a bit of a sort of a cynical view out there too, in terms of, yeah, right, plant more trees, you know, and it'll all go away. But how important actually is that, and how important do you see that with your, I suppose, tech hat and your engineering hat on? How do you actually look at greening the cities, and how does it, you know, fit in?
I mean, apart from, of course, putting nature back in the city, I mean, you have to find the right, I would say, transport innovations for people to adhere. And I think we will see new means of transport. I mean, I will take the example of drones. I mean, now, you know, drones are more and more used. They will be used even to transport people. Yeah, they will be used...
I'm trying to get my head around that one still, yeah.
You know, to transport goods. It is predicted that in the city of Paris, by 2035, 20,000 flights will be conducted by drones per hour. And this, of course, will allow people to have services a lot more efficient than today. So, I mean, we shall see of course, the challenges of having more people inside the cities also very positively, not only as a constraint and new technologies in order to reduce decarbonation, but also as an incentive to invent the new means of transport of tomorrow, which also will ease and facilitate the lives of all.
So it's, okay, I'm waiting for that one. Let's see who will take the first drone trip. I might be a little bit nervous on that one. We'll wait till you go, and then you can report back, and we'll see how you do it.
Well, to make a
You're
joke,
heading
it is actually something that we're looking
Yes.
at. One, to deliver supplies and goods, but also as a mode and means of transportation. So we've looked at all different types of technology to transport our guests around by marine, by ground, by air. And so, I think that is where the future is headed.
And Eithne, we need also to think that one of the solutions is to create new cities, because we've been talking about the existing cities, but in a lot of countries they are building new cities, incorporating from the start all the technologies that will guarantee sustainability. For instance, in Japan, they have created a city next to Mount Fuji where all the vehicles are autonomous vehicles. So from the start, we make sure that the impact on the environment is the least negative.
And we don't have too much time left, but let me stay with you for a minute. When we look also, you look at it, the new city that's been built even in Cairo, and the new capital, I suppose, that's being built, which they had to do. You're from a technology background. Yes, you have the engineering skills, but do you believe that it goes hand in hand? There's no way you can separate one from the other now.
Yes, I think the technology is at the heart of what's going to change the world of tomorrow, the faces of the city. This is the role of the engineers today to design these new technologies. Of course, and I told you, they will use the digital twin. They will eco-conceive the different infrastructure, which means that they will take into account all these aspects before the infrastructure is built, and this is the key issue.
Jay, while you've been, planning and building, things have changed even along the way. How do you anticipate, the speed of change, I suppose, for the next few years? Because yes, you have the grand plan and you will work towards it, but of course you have to be nimble and adaptable. I'm sure you've had to not quite do a few U-turns, but on the way you've probably had to change, maybe just because technology got faster, better.
Yeah, that's a challenge, and I think related and picking up on some of Laurent's message points. I think for us as a resort destination, obviously technology is going to be the key. For us, however, I think a little bit unique and different from conventional cities. What's the right balance between being smart and leveraging technology in a resort destination like ours? So much of service delivery, as an example, is usually human touch and interaction, right? Yes, there's artificial intelligence and facial recognition, but is that what the guest and the customer wants when they come to a resort destination? So for us, I think one of the unique challenges is trying to find and strike that right balance of leveraging and using technology without, kind of destroying the service delivery model of a resort destination like ours.
Olayan, I want a closing word from you before we'll get a quick rebrief on terms of technology before. But this is going to take, yes, a lot of effort, energy investment, but I also, from kind of listening to you, it's not all about the tech.
Very true, very true.
You
It's all about the tech, whether to take the drone flight or some other applications on.
You need some talent in there too, huh?
The reality of the matter that you need talent, and that talent is very wide range of skill sets that needs to be invested into. The talent of the future needs to be prepared today, and I think we have a mandate, all of us, whether it is the real estate development or the construction and the transportation companies, or us as well, to really put a lot of firepower behind educating them in the best way possible to make them able to leverage on their own potential for the future, to live and make use of those technologies and to create a future for themselves and for their nations to flourish even further.
Absolutely essential. You have a closing point on this one, please, Laurent.
Yes, I have a closing point because, talking about technologies, of course, we're talking about smart cities, but, for me, we should talk more about a wise city because, the use of technology, of course, is absolutely necessary, but it must be in the interest of the citizens, and we must make the citizens more at the heart of the decision-making for infrastructure in the cities of the future. That's why I would call them wise cities, and not smart cities.
Yes, indeed, I like that. Annelies, and send us some wise notes of wisdom to just close us off.
All the writing, all the data is on the wall, and I want to say that what we understood, cities are complex ecosystems, and what we've also learned, natural capital is integral to well-being. And the human city, as we saw in the video, is all about people and culture, not just about commerce and technology. One of our experts told us, technology is like plumbing, most people don't care. What people care about is the content of the experience. Digital is the advanced plumbing and not the soul of the experience. And in my dream scenarios, I see cities being well-being powerhouses for people, planet, and businesses.
Wow, and we have to close it off because our time is closed off. But I like that, yes, and this is the technology, as you started even, that says everything is built on that connectivity. If that's not there, if that's not right, if that's not in place, then it'll be a big challenge for everything else to go. So thank you for that. I want to thank you, Olayan, the Group CEO for STC. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
To Jay Rosen from the Red Sea Development, thank you so much. Also, of course, to you, Laurent, Germain from Egis Group, the CEO, and Annelies, thank you so much for adding, as I said, your words of wisdom and closing
Thanks
that.
for having
and
me.
to you all, thank you so much for being with us. That wraps us up.
Thank you.
And so there's a lot more to come.
Thank you.
We can go.